Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel. In this video we are going to touch on building a blog using Nuxt version 3 and Content version 2. This is going to look very similar to what we did, or I should say what I did, using SvelteKit in a prior video. It's just using Nuxt. So this here is the accompanying blog post. It's a work in progress. The date right now is early morning, June 11th, but this is scheduled for release on Monday, the 13th. The picture is quite obviously the same as the one that I have for SvelteKit. You can see it's not even showing up on the site yet. It's the same picture. I need to grab some other stuff, but it's ready to go. And we're gonna just kind of go through. We're just gonna build a blog. So let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do, Nuxt Content, and I'm gonna bring this window over here, because we're just going to kind of follow right along with the instructions. We'll open up Nuxt Content right here. So let's get started. So I am going to not create this content app right here. By the by, I should mention the code is all live. I'm going to pull this, so everything is up and running already. I can actually, let's see if I can run it. It is running already. Okay, let's take a look. Let's see what it looks like. This is what it looks like with Nuxt Content. It looks very similar. It should look very similar. It's the exact same thing, styling and everything. So it's up and running. The code will be, by the time you see this, it will be up on GitHub, and the link to that will be in the profile as well. Not in the profile, in the description. Sorry, apologies. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to create a fresh project. So we're going to do npx nuxi init. We will call this Nuxt blog example. Hey, that's what I called it in the actual code, so it'll work out well. The template we're going to use is content. So we're going to wait just a minute. It has set it up. cd into Nuxt blog example, and we will do npm install. Okay. Now, while that is going, we are going to... I'm actually going to stop it running in the other one because I don't want that one to be the one that shows up. I am going to open, while this is installing everything, I'm going to open the new version. This is going to get confusing. I know this is going to get confusing, but whatever. Secondary hard drive, YouTube. Come on, refresh. Come on, WebStorm. Refresh. This is called Nuxt blog example. Let's just open it. Trust project, new window. Okay. And it is loading. Okay. No, that's not what I wanted to open. Minimize that project. Okay, let's try again. Open. YouTube. Nuxt blog example. Okay. This window. I don't know why this is having so much trouble. I am going to do a couple of things right here. I really don't like this size font, so I'm going to put this back before I forget for my terminal. Close this, and I can exit this. Now let's pop open WebStorm again. Where did WebStorm go? All windows. This is not going to get confusing at all. Here we go. And all windows. Here we go. There. Let's move this all the way over. And I need to change this again to, let's make this high contrast. Appearance. Let's see. High contrast. There we go. For our friends who might have a little difficulty. Oh Lord, what happened? Who might have a little difficulty with color blindness. Size is 19. Editor. Font. Size is 19. Okay, there we go. So this is pretty much what we get. When you start up the project using their template, you have your content grouping and you have your pages. So let's just go ahead and run this using npm run dev. We'll go to localhost 3000. It's starting our server. And there we go. Now, this is something weird that I don't know why it does this. So this is what about.md looks like. It's this one. But when you go to the home page, it renders this. It's not rendering index.md. If I change this to, let's make this index-1. Why is this not working? Let's see. Come on, couple more seconds. Document not found. Okay, let's call this something else. Let's call this blah blah.md refactor. And we'll call this blah blah. There we go. Okay, I don't know why that was having a problem. So this is what should render when I'll duplicate this index.md. So if you go to just this slug component is what renders the content because of this content doc component here. And we will take a look at this in just a second. Content doc, it fetches and renders a single document. So it should fetch the index of our content folder. But for some reason, and I don't know why this is, maybe someone can alert Sebastien and let him know that this is happening, but it's rendering about instead of index.md. But like I said, we can go to, let's try and go to index. Yeah, it's not found. It's just something weird going on. But if we go to blah blah, then it renders what should be considered as the index markdown file. Okay, that doesn't matter. Now we are going to install Tailwind. But we're not going to install just generic Tailwind. We're going to install the Nuxt Tailwind module, I think. I think it's called the module, whatever it is. So I'm going to open up my terminal here, npm i-d at nuxt.js Tailwind CSS. Now we're going to go into our nuxt.config.ts file, and here we are now going to add at nuxt.js Tailwind CSS. And we are going to do npx Tailwind CSS init. And it has created a new tailwind.config.js file with the new typing that's showing up right here. Let me see if I change this to TS. No, it doesn't really change any of that. Okay, that's fine. It doesn't matter. Now, what I'm going to do, I am going to copy over the. Let me open up another the other blog post. So I'm going to copy over the tailwind.config.js file from the last post. We're just going to copy over the module.exports. And what this also means is we need to const default theme equals require Tailwind CSS default theme. Okay, and we're also going to need to install Tailwind typography. So let's just do that while we're getting everything set up. npm-i-d Tailwind CSS typography. Okay. Now, one thing that we should note, we no longer have svelte components. We have components with the .view extension. And the other thing, and actually let me make this JS because that's what they're calling for in the documentation here, so I don't want to screw that up. And let's add in an assets folder at the root of our project. New directory, assets, and we will also add in CSS, and we will add in Tailwind.css. Now, very basic, Tailwind base, Tailwind components, Tailwind utilities. That's all standard stuff. You need to have that in the just generic CSS file. Now we have this. Let's go back, and this is what our app looks like, which is a little bit different. Obviously, now we actually have some Tailwind styles being included here. Great. So the thing that we don't have though is if we go ahead and inspect this, and we look at this content right here, and let's just drag this up a little bit and see if we can find the font that's being used. You can see it's just using UI sans serif. It's not actually using uncut sans, which is the sans serif font that that we're using in this project. That's what we've declared right here. The font family of sans is going to be uncut sans. Serif is going to be Sprat. So one thing that we need to do in Tailwind.css is we need to grab the code from, let me open up the other one. So I'm going to be pulling a lot of stuff from the prior project, or the prior video / blog post where I did this in Svelte, because again, I want it to look the same. I want you to see and compare just how this sort of stuff is going to be built in Nuxt versus in SvelteKit. So I'm just going to pull a lot of this stuff in here as well. So I am going to copy over some code. So what's going on here, we're going to apply to all of our header classes the font serif, and then we're going to set font faces. We're going to host the fonts locally. The problem is we don't actually have these fonts yet. So what I am also going to do, I need to pull this up. I am going to, in here, nope, what's happening? In here, I'm going to create a fonts folder. And then I'm going to just copy over Sprat and Uncut Sans from the other project into here. So now we have Sprat and Uncut Sans. We have all of them. We don't need all of them, but we have all of them. That's fine. But what we're also going to want to do here, Anywhere we see a slash fonts, you probably can just leave it as fonts. I don't know if we need to explicitly say slash assets slash fonts, but I'm just going to do that anyway. We save it. We refresh. We might need to rerun the server. Let's see. I think that's all we should need to do for the fonts. And we can see we've got, let's examine this font just a little bit really quickly. The font that's being used here we can see is Sprat. And if we look at the network tab, I don't know if it's going to show that we're actually downloading Sprat or not. Here's Sprat regular.otf. Okay, and we can see we're getting it from assets, fonts, Sprat regular.otf. So fonts are working. Great, grand. We can get rid of this Nuxt setup. We can get rid of this. Now, let's move on to the next thing, if you will. So in the last video, in this felt kit video, we put all of the styling into a _layouts.svelte, or I think _layout, I should say, .svelte file. And you can declare certain layouts depending on, you know, which page you're on and everything like that. And Nuxt I don't know exactly, Nuxt.js, let's just pull it up really quickly. Nuxt 3, get started, let's look at the API. Maybe it's under guide. So for layouts, if you only have a single layout in your application, we recommend using app.view instead, which is what we're going to be doing. So instead of creating a layouts folder, all we're going to do is we're going to go into here, and I'm going to say class equals h screen. And if we look at this, we can now tell that this is the full screen height. Let's just get rid of this just to show you what it was before. You can see that's what it looked like before. So we bring that back in, and there we have everything is the full height. Now, the way it was set up before, or I should say the way the project was set up before, the landing page did not immediately go to a blog post or a list of blog posts. It went to some weird looking thing. I can show it to you, but I'm going to effectively show it to you in here in a minute. So I'm just going to continue on. So what we're going to do, we're going to create an index.view file, and I don't think I have the template set up properly. So I'll just get rid of this, and we are going to set up template. So I'm going to actually just write this out, even though it's being copied over, but just for, I don't know, just for fun, so people can see. Grid, H screen, place, content center, and gap 3. Oh, there's one other thing that I'm going to install. I need to, two other things actually. npm i-d prettier, and what's the other one that I want? It's the prettier plugin for Tailwind CSS. And then I'm going to create a .prettier RC file. And I will copy this over from the last project, and I will set up Prettier really quickly so that it runs on save, JSTS, JSX, TSX, and view. Okay, there. Now we can close this. Okay, and the Tailwind plugin will actually just rearrange. So if we move this here, and hit save, it reorders it the way we had it before. Okay, now we're going to do H1, text 5XL, text blue 500, welcome to Nuxt Content. And let's see, this is not, yeah, this is not going to like this. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to restart the server. So let's just do that while I'm typing up some of this other stuff. P text XL, text red 600, visit a href equals https content.nuxtjs.org to read the documentation. And there we go. And this is kind of what it looked like before. We'll just add in a link really quickly. Nuxt link. Go to blog, and we're going to set up href equals blog, class equals mxauto, rounded, xl, bg, amber, 700, px20, py4, text white. And I will tell you, my color choices are just atrocious because this this button, when it ends up showing up, just looks horrendous. Oh, where did it go? What happened? We had it there for a second. Let's try one more time. That's funky. I don't know why that's happening. Okay, we're not going to worry about that right now. So we've gone to blog and we see document not found, overwrite this content with not found slot in content doc. Now what it's trying to do is it's trying to go to a file in the content directory called blog.md, and it's not being found. Now like I said, what I ended up doing in the last project is I put all of the posts in a blog folder. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to create a new folder, blog, and I'm going to put everything in here, refactor. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a blog folder here, and I'm going to create an index.svelte or an index.view file right here. And I will show you what's going on in just a second. Template, and then just for now, h1, grid h full, place, content, center, text 5XL, blog home. And let's just take a look at this. Might have to restart the server again. So what's going to happen is this index.view file is going to be, let's try and prettier it. Wow, it's just because it's so large that it doesn't like it. So here is blog home. So what's going to happen is, oh, there's the button, refresh. Okay, maybe I just need to restart the server. And you notice the favicon is still the svelte favicon, which is just kind of funny. So we go to blog, and this will go, so doing this, instead of going to blog/index.md, this is going to blog/index.view, which is why it's showing up this blog home thing right here. Okay? So that's what's happening right now. I'm going to actually get rid of index.md just to be completely clear that, you know, what's going on. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to use some of these helpers. So content navigation can be used for navigating. And just as a note, a quick shout out, I'm going to pull up youtube.com just very quickly, Nuxt Content v3. This video right here, I kind of took some of it. I don't know how to pronounce Behan, maybe? Baker? He uses content navigation in his video. I'm not going to be doing that because I want to show a little bit more. The content that I was showing, the list view, if you will, in the last video actually included it included a description, so I want to include that description here. So I'm not going to use content navigation. Instead, I'm going to use content list. So let's kind of have a little bit of fun with content list. Okay. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to style our main content just a little bit. So I'm going to main class equals bg white px4 pt16 pb20 small px6 large px8 large pt24 and large, I think, pb. I have to pb28. Okay, that's fine. Now what I'm going to do, mx auto max width lg max width 7xl, and then border b gray 200 pb6, and then within that h2 text 3xl, font semi-bold, tracking tight, text gray 900, recent posts. There we go. We've got what? At least the start, and I need to add in, I had one more style, small text 4XL. Okay, good. Now, I need to somehow get a list of the blog posts. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do, mt12 grid gap 16 large grid calls 3 large gap x5 and I think large gap y12. So we need to somehow get our list of blog posts, and we're going to be using content list for this. So let's, I'm just going to copy this over, and let's just see what happens. And I'm going to change the path to be blog. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm storing the posts in the blog subfolder of our content directory. And let me just pull up OBS really quickly. Okay, it's still recording. Fantastic. Okay. Actually, let me... Oh, I broke something. There we go. Now I can leave it open. I apologize for that. It was probably doing something weird for a split second. So let's open this up. And we can see we have about content v2 and hello content v2. And this is blah blah is this one. So that's why this one is showing up there. Before I forget, I'm just going to copy over the foobar, foobaz, and hello world into our blog folder. And I'm going to get rid of about and blah blah. So these are the three posts that we had in the last project. So just by looking at, I think it's blog index.view. So just by looking at this using content list, it lists the title and the description. Okay. Now we don't necessarily want just this. I also want to have the author. I want to have the date and, you know, some things like that. So I'm going to add those as well, and I'm going to add some styling. So here, let's see. So I'm going to call this, article and list, article path, and I will do class equals flex call justify between rounded LG border. I don't remember what color I did, so I'm going to have to go over and it's going to mess it all up. Border gray 200 and padding of 4. Okay, come on. Refresh, maybe? There we go. Okay. No, I don't need you to translate that. So we've got our border around them. Great, grand. What we're next going to want to do is we're going to want to be able to click on these articles and actually direct it to the location. So let's add in a Nuxt link with the href being article path. And then I'm going to make this a p tag because that, again, that's what it was before. Class equals text XL, text gray 900. And the description is going to be class equals MT3, text gray 500. Okay. And now you can see in the very bottom, I don't know if you can see it or not, it's a little small, but it's going to localhost /3000 or :3000 /blog/foobar. We click on it and we get our data here, which doesn't look good. We're going to style that in just a little bit. But let's go ahead and go back. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to actually look at the markdown. So in the last video, I actually had to choose the excerpt in here, and I had to choose the layout. I'm going to get rid of that. Another thing that's nice about Nuxt Content version 3 is all I need to do in order to get a description is add in this more thing. Whatever is above it, not including the front matter, whatever is above it is the description, and it's obviously included in the post as well, but whatever's above it is the description, whatever's below it is not the description. So we can do something similar here. I'm going to get rid of this, and I will add more, and I'm just going to copy this because I don't want to have to type it again. I will get rid of this and more, and you can see now we have just a little bit of content here. Okay, so let's now, I can close this, and close this. Now we are back in blog/index. Now below this we want to add in MT6, and we want to, I'm just going to do p text small, font medium, text gray 900, article author, and then text small, and this can, I think I have it as a div right now, and I'll just leave it that way, but it should be a p tag. Text small, text gray 500, time, date time equals 2020-03-16. This is probably when they were doing this for Tailwind UI. I don't really know a lot about the date time thing for the time element, and this video is already at 34 minutes. I'm not going to waste time doing that, but you know, I can look into it and see what's going on with that. Now, this is kind of ugly. We're going to handle this in a little bit, but you can see we're starting to get our stuff here. Now, just for the purpose of kind of speeding things up a little, I'm going to change this to an anchor tag, and I'm going to make the href equal and we need to do backticks because just the way Vue handles dynamic content in here with strings. Author equals article dot author. So now if we click on this, it will direct to author equals Jeff, that query string. Now it obviously doesn't do anything because we don't have anything set right now. This is still just returning all of our posts. Okay, but we've got that set up, so that's ready to go whenever we need it. Okay, refresh the page. There we go. Let's see. What do I want to do next? Let's style the slug. This one right here. So when we go to this, we just make the post look a little bit nicer. Again, this is going to be copied over from the last one, and in the interest of time, I'm going to copy over. This is all in the blog post, by the way. I'm going to copy over the classes, just because I don't want this to take too long. And before content doc, we're going to add the back button, but this is just going to be a Nuxt link class equals block cursor pointer href equals blog. And this I'm going to copy over the SVG that we used before the arrow. There we go. So now if we go back, it brings us back to the blog posts. Okay, good. Now, content doc, as we've seen before, is this is where we're going to have all the information that we need. You can see we're using vslot equals doc, and we have access to doc.title. Content renderer is what will render the actual body of the post. But if you want access to the front matter and certain other information, you're going to want to wrap all of it in content doc. So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to stop it from being self-closing, and I'm going to say vslot equals doc. Okay, and now I'm going to bring in, I'm just going to copy all this in, and I'll discuss it in just a second. So the H2, this is exactly what we had in the last one. It's just we're changing how. Here, let me pull this up really quickly. I'm going to bring this over here, up here. Let's minimize this, and let's just do kind of a compare and contrast. So we can see this, the classes are the same for all this sort of stuff. It's just what we've had to do here is we had to expose the props in Svelte because the way MD-Specs works, you have to expose the front matter props that you want to use. Whereas in Nuxt Content, we just get it as part of the doc that we're grabbing right here in the slot. Okay, all of it other than that is the same. The only difference here is this convert date that we don't have right now, that I'm going to we might as well just add that right now. So under the top level, I'm just going to create a utils folder, and we will create an index file. And let's find lib utils. I'm going to copy this over. This is again from the Svelte project. And this is going to be a string, which will return a string. Yeah, and that's the same thing. So now let's go back into our this is blog index. Let's go back into slug. And now all we need to do, script setup, and we're just going to import convert date from utils. And we might as well do that in blog/index as well. Script setup import convert date. And then we want our article.date to be, instead of just the generic date, convert date. Now let's go back to this, refresh, and we can see we have 15th of April, 15th of July, 27th of May. So let's go back into one of these. And you can see now we have our title, we have by Jeff, and we have the date, which is exactly how it was before. Okay. Okay. Now let's look at Slug. Let's see if there's anything else that I want to touch on here. I don't think so. The one thing that I will mention, let's do foobar baz. You notice it says document not found. Overwrite this content with the not found slot in content doc. So if we look at this, I had a little trouble with this, and I still don't have it. And if someone is able to, if someone knows what's going on and wants to put something in the comments, that would be appreciated. But I'm just going to take template not found. I'm going to copy this, and I'm just going to put this after that div. I'm going to hit Control S, go back into here, and I get this error. And I don't know what's happening. I've read online that that it's an ordering issue, so I've tried putting it up here, and I get the same thing. I've tried wrapping the rest of it in an explicit default template, and it's still, something is not working with this for me. And, you know, as we can see, the documentation is not terribly, it's not terribly verbose when it comes to this. So if someone knows what's going on and wants to help, that would be appreciated. And I actually did touch on this in the blog post as well. So I'm going to get rid of this. So this is just something that is just not going to work for now if you try and type in an incorrect slug. Okay. Next, let's see. We've got convert date. That's great. So we've pretty much got the basics of our blog. And you notice we didn't have to jerry-rig something like we did for MD specs or anything like that. We didn't have to tell it where to look. At least we didn't have to, you know, use import.meta or anything like that. You know, yeah, we had something that was a bit complex in terms of the structure. But in here, we were able to just say, hey, point to blog and get it from there instead. Okay. Now, this is all fine and good, but right now it's sorting it alphabetically. Foobar, Foobaz, Hello World. And these dates here are out of order. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to sort. Okay, so let's go up into content list. So you can see, oh, it doesn't have it in here. It sort of does. So you can see we can add a query to our content list. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do query equals query. And we're going to set, actually I'm going to call it QC. Const QC, just for now. So let's look at the content query. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can do. Don't worry about this. Oh, no, I want query content. This is the one that I care about. So, oh, wait a second. Hold on. Yeah, it needs to be a query content element. Okay. So you can query, this will give you the location that you want to query. This will, you can say, you can have certain conditions and things like that. And that's, you know, that's all well and good. Now, let's get rid of path equals blog because we're going to be handling the location in the query. So we're going to do equals await query content blog. You can see here, create a query looking into the content/articles directory by doing this. So we do that. And nothing changes, as anticipated. Oh, not found. Oh, I know why. We're gonna log the QC element the entire time, just so we can see what's happening as we go through this. No data, and this is just stuff. So what we need to do is we need to actually call find on this, because we're finding all the elements. And we refresh, and we get, okay, I need to turn this off. Never translate Latin, thank you. We get these 3 elements for our QC. And we get these 3 elements right here. Great, grand. Now though, we want to sort. Let's try sorting by author. We go back into here and we refresh the page, and nothing is actually happening here. Let's try sorting by author 0. Now, if we look at this, so Fubaz is the one that was written by Alice. The other 2 were written by Jeff. So if we do author is 1, save, refresh, and let's look at the query content. Fubaz shows up first, but it's not showing up first here. Let's do -1. And then hello world or foobar should show up first. Fubaz should show up last. And there we go. Fubaz shows up last. But for some reason, it's not rendering here correctly. So this is another little, I don't want to call it a bug because I might just be using it incorrectly. But this is another little bug that I found that's just not working properly. So what I'm going to do instead, since we're going to be handling the query content up here manually, and we're not going to be using kind of the built-in stuff for content list, I'm just going to get rid of the content list. And I can replace list with QC. Now we refresh and we notice, I don't know if you noticed it, but it sorted them in the correct order. If we go up into here and we change author to 1 and we refresh our page, now Alice should show up first. Okay? So that's how we can do that on sorting for author. Again, I noted this in the blog post, and you know, kind of like the last thing, if someone is able to explain to me what I'm doing wrong, great. Otherwise, if someone or if, you know, fingers crossed, if Sebastien or someone else ends up seeing this and they want to shoot me a message or post a comment, all the better. So now let's look at this. What do we want to do? We want to sort by date. Okay, so let's get rid of sort by author. Let's do date -1. And we refresh. 15 July, 27 May, 15 April. Good. Good. That works. Except it doesn't. Because if we go into Fubaz, like, let's change these. Instead of it being 2022-07-15, let's do 15 July 2022. Let's say we don't want to use that convert date method. This will be 15 April 2022, and this will be 27 May 2022. Save, refresh. Oh, and I need to, in index, I need to get rid of this. So now we see 27 May, 15 July, 15 April. It's not in order. Let's go back in here. Nope, let's go back into, yeah, it's up at the top here. So sorting by date, if we change it to 1, and then we refresh the page, it reverse sorted it, but it's, again, it's not in order. So let's undo this. So it worked in this sense because these are the way these dates are stored. It's in ascending order or descending order. And I'm going to add convert date back on that. But it really doesn't work in the way that we want it to. So you could mess around. You could add some extra functionality here, but we want to try and use as much built-in stuff as we can. So there's actually a neat thing that we can do. So the first post was foobar. So we're going to add onto the beginning of this one dot. The second post was hello world. So we're going to add onto the beginning of this 2 dot. And then this is going to be 3 dot. So now these are stored in the correct order. Oh, and let me just get rid of this for now. There. So foobar was first, hello world is second, foobaz is third. Foobar, hello world, foobaz. Now, the question then becomes, though, what happens if we want to sort it in reverse order? So let's look at the QC array here. You can see we have two. Now again, I don't know if there's an official way to handle this because, again, the sort doesn't really have anything for this, at least not that I've seen. But, you know, we can kind of figure something out. So what we want to sort on is, let's just say the file, underscore file. So let's do sort underscore file -1. There we go. Refresh, and there we go. 15th of July, 27th of May, 15th of April. Let's add in the extra, the other one that we're going to have. I'm going to copy it over. No, I don't want to copy it over yet. We're going to do new file 4.test custom component.md. And I'm going to actually just pull in these things right here. Now, ideally, if you are creating content, you should be storing these things. Like, this was shown as written on June 3rd, which is before July 15th, but it has a number of 4. Like, you should be doing these in ascending order if you're going to be using the file names to sort. And this all works. This is good, right? Because this is number 4, so it shows up first. What happens, though, let's make this, instead of 3, let's make it 13. Because you're going to have, you know, if your blog is worth its salt, you're going to have more than 9 articles. So foobaz right now is the second item here. Well, now 13, it shows up as the last item, but you can see it went back to the second one, or the third one in this order, so in reverse order. So foobar is first, foobaz, hello world, testing a custom component. And what's going on here is it's treating these as text. And when you sort in JavaScript on numeric values but treat it as text, it groups all the 1s together, then all the 2s, then all the 3s. So like 2 would be followed by 20, would be followed by 21, by 22, and so on and so forth. So the folks at Nuxt have added a convenient little helper. I don't know if it caught your eye or not, this $numeric. And all we need to do is say $numeric is true. We save, we refresh our page, and now we see that foobaz shows up as the most recent article because this is number 13. So now it treats those as numeric types. We refactor. This should now pop under testing a custom component. And there we go. Okay, so we have sorting done. Now we want to go back to this sort of situation where if we click on an author, it fetches only the articles by that author. This is remarkably simple. We're going to be using a where clause, where author, and then we're going to be passing in the author name. Ready for this? Check this out. We're going to use a composable from Nuxt, const query equals use route. Const author equals query. Now you can see why I wanted to name this QC. Now all we need to do, where author. Save, refresh, boom, mic drop. It's that simple. I'm gonna bring the other one back in here, and we're gonna look at this side by side. So, and again, I very well might have been doing things incorrectly. I was probably doing things incorrectly in here, but needing to filter, needing to get the search params, and then like if you end up wanting, like I can show you the code that I have for my actual website. It uses FeltKit. I'm going to be redoing it in Nuxt. You might want to have search by author. You might want to have pagination. You might want to have a whole bunch of stuff that this is just going to get messy. Whereas in here, it's still a little messy, but it's much more straightforward. So this is definitely kind of just it's blowing my mind. Okay, next. So the only other thing to kind of bring us up to speed is a custom component. Now, first things first. Let me bring over the code from the last video, and I'm just going to get rid of this because I'm not using this felt version. So we created the new window URL component so that any URL would actually open in a new window. So let's go back. We click on main site, it opens in a new window. So we don't need that. If this were instead of main site, if this were just the, nope, that's not the one that I want. It's this one. If we clicked on this, it would open in the same window. But if you have a link that goes to an external location, it opens in a new window. So we don't need that. So we're just gonna, I still want to show you how to use custom components. So I'm just gonna use, let's go into guide, I think it is, and MDC syntax. There's some stuff in here, and this is, honestly, this is a little wonky. If there's one shortcoming, it's with MDC. And I'm going to show you just a little bit of it. So we are going to create within our base, the root of our project, we're going to create a components folder, and we're going to create a content folder. So now any component that we create within here will be available to every markdown file in our content directory. We don't have to do the script and import like we did with SvelteKit and MD specs. So now let's create two components. We're going to create a hero component, and we are going to create a card component. Now, the card.view is going, I'm just going to copy it over from here. It's going to look like this, and I'm going to get rid of this dark because it's 1:40 in the morning and I have the dark theme on my computer and it just looks ugly. And let's copy this over from and save. Okay, this doesn't give us anything. Let's go back to test custom component. Now, I'm just gonna, so this, it should look like this. Let's just copy this over, and I will explain what's going on in just a second. We save, we refresh, and what the crap is going on? Let's try restarting the server. Let's see if that helps. So you can see here the way you call a your component in the markdown file using MDC is the double colon. You can add an extra one here, as they say. You can add more when nesting components is a visual reminder. You know, that sort of stuff. So now let's go back, and this is what it looks like. And it's still, I'm just going to add some content here, blah blah blah, just so that the coloring doesn't happen on this, because that was just weird. Now, let's go back very quickly to our card. Border BG white, padding of 6. Let's add text blue 300. Save. There we go. Tailwind updated. We have our text is updating. We can do, let's make this text purple 700. Let's look at hero. I'm going to try something here. Blah, blah. Now let's refresh this. I just want to see if this works. I've not actually done this. Let's get rid of a super nested cards content, and let's see if it likes it or if it yells at us. Yeah, this is another thing that's just a little wonky about it. So you can see here, the component must contain either a slot to accept raw text or another component, or the markdown component. And it does, but it wasn't rendering the fallback content. And again, it might just be, oh no, that was in hero. That's why. I want to do that in card. Still might work. Let's give it a shot. Card. Blah blah from card.view. Save, refresh, nothing changes. Good. Let's get rid of this. Save, refresh, blah blah from card.view. Good. So we have our fallback content, just like we normally would. Okay, so it must have just been that when I was playing with some of this, so some of the stuff that I ended up experiencing when I was working on the blog post was that, like, if I tried to include a class in here that wasn't already included elsewhere in my project, then it wasn't being rendered by the just-in-time compiler by Tailwind, so it wasn't being found. So what I would have to do is I would have to take this text purple 700 and put it in here first, let it render so that it was added to the CSS file, and then I would get it here. But it's working here perfectly fine, which is nice. And let's do font sans just for fun. There we go. And we can see it. It updated in real time. Okay, so that's kind of it. This video ended up being, I think, a little bit shorter than the last one, only because, you know, some of it was already set up. Yeah, I think that's it. This is, like I said, this is a lot of fun. I really do like Vue. The first 4 years of my life as a web developer, we're using Vue, so I'm very comfortable in Vue. I mean, Svelte is cool as anything, but I do really like Vue. I like what's going on with Nuxt 3. It's very intuitive. It's still new, so I don't know just how much will be used in production. But I mean, my portfolio site, not my portfolio site, but my actual, you can call it an agency site if you want to. This is all in Svelte. If you'll be able to see here, if we go to services, you can see it prefetched the information there, services.svelte, because I have the Svelte prefetch thing on it. The about, it prefetched. So this is using Svelte, but I do really like Nuxt. Part of the reason is I'm more comfortable with it. Part of the reason, if I'm being honest, is if we look good, I'm not signed in, thankfully. Let's browse, hero sections, code, HTML, React, Vue. There's nothing in here for Svelte. Now, there are Svelte headless UI. There is a library that that is good. This is a remarkable piece of work that this maintainer has put together. But it's just a little bit of a pain to convert this from React, which is right here, into Svelte using this. Whereas if I want just the Vue component, let's say I literally just want this, and I'm already using Vue copy, and there we go. I've got everything that I need. It's importing from headless UI, and you can see you're not able to see all these. This is really a very cool. I really do like Tailwind UI. I bought this a couple of years ago, before there were a lot of other free Tailwind component libraries. But this is, this is very good. You're able to grab a lot of this stuff, and you can, you copy the code, and a lot of this uses like the indigo colors and everything like that. And the concern is that everything is going to look exactly the same. Well, if you just literally copy and paste, then yes. But what this allows you to do, like my problem that I have is that I'm not good at coming up with design from scratch, but design that I have, like this, I can modify and I can kind of add certain things to it. So that's another reason why I really, I'm probably going to mess around with Vue a little bit more. So I will be redesigning my site in Nuxt, and I'll do a video on that. I don't know if I'm going to do another video on a front end thing before I start touching on building the user stuff for Fast API that I had mentioned in a prior video or a prior post or something like that. I mentioned it somewhere. So let's see, an hour and 8 minutes. If you've made it to this point, thank you. That's all I have to say is thank you. I think I'm going to pull it up, youtube.com. Fast API. Let's see if it comes up. This is very sad. I have 25 subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of you. I've put out all these videos. I'll be completely honest with you. Just the mere fact that 173 people have viewed this, the mere fact that there are 25 of you that like what I'm putting out enough that you want to be notified about this every day is really, really cool. So if you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you to my subscribers. I'm going to start doing this now. If you can like and subscribe, that would be all the better. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to be on vacation next week, but I wanted to get this done so that I could post it next week, so that, you know, you've got something to look at to go along with the fast API stuff. So with that, have a good night. I will see you in the next video.